Hey guys, welcome back. Joe here again from ScaleFreak.com, coming to bring you another install part on the Red Knight, aka the Project JK. What this one here is, today I have installed the Knight Customs RotoPax on the back of this bad boy here. I wanted to get the ones that go into the windows, because man, how cool is that? So in the video, I show you the way to install. I make a mistake, you'll see that. And basically, they're white right now, but I'll explain that. You can figure out why you want to do that on your own. But guys, this is another pretty neat scale upgrade for when you're making that like super crazy trail rig that you've always wanted. I mean, come on, this thing is starting to look completely badass. So go ahead and take a look at that. Watch the rest of the video. See how it's done. Of course, first we will start with the packaging itself. Now, they are coming from Shapeways, so they're going to be in the standard Shapeways plastic bags. Just to kind of give you guys a heads up again, for those of you in Europe who are ordering, there's actually a European manufacturing station that they come from Europe, so created and shipped there. Helps you a lot with the shipping and the taxes. And of course, in the States, there's one as well. So a couple different places in the world that these could be coming from, but it's going to be the same quality product. So figure out what the closest one from you is. I think the website figures it out for you, but it'll work. Again, you get a couple of these. So for the RotoPax, for the window, you're going to get the window frame, and it's just, again, it's all 3D printed, so that's what that looks like. And then, of course, for the pack itself, this one came in white, and there's a couple little extra attachments on here for other things that these may be involved in. Now, what you'll see here, there's the guy itself, and then there's a little cap there, and then these are some kind of mounts for some of the other projects that you could be using this for. For this one specifically, really this stuff's all, see you later, it's mostly that guy right there that I need, which is the cap that's going to get glued on. Now, a couple things that you are going to need for this, okay? So number one, CA glue. Scalers, it's not something we normally play with. So go get yourself a bottle of CA glue, or go to a local track where you're going to find a guy who races, because they have to glue all their damn tires on. So you got that. Of course, see this little guy I got hanging out here? This is the glue tip. For those people, and I was one of them at one point, you do get, when you buy the glue, at least AKA glue, you get this extra piece here. You just need to cut a little bit off, and that is going to save you a lifetime of glue. Hey, here's a hint for you. If you don't use much of it, put it in the fridge. It lasts you forever. Okay, what else do you need here? Sharp hobby knife. Caution, guys. Sharpest thing you can find. I'm going to use the score and tear method in order to do this. So, you can do the same as me if you want to, or you might have a better way. I never said I was the smartest kid. Of course, you're going to need, well, for me, again, I use the painter's tape. I showed you guys in the past how I did that. And I'm going to use a Sharpie. So let me kind of show you how I got this stuff all set up. So first, I will show you, I do have the top already taken off of my setup. And of course, I do need to snap this thing apart, because one is for the inside. Let me move this. One is for the inside and one is for the outside. I use my hobby scissors to get kind of the main cuts done, and then trim it up, guys. Get as little work as possible with the knife. The more work you do with the knife, the more chance you're going to slice your finger open. Take this from a guy who used to slice his finger open a lot. I don't like to do that. It's terrible. Just a second here, just trim the rest of this up. And then, of course, what I am going to do, and of course, again, when I use this knife, I hold it like that, and then just kind of bring it towards myself. That way I am reducing the chance that I am cutting the end of my finger open again to a bare minimum, because it's not fun. It slows down the process of building when you're bleeding. So I learned that. It took me a while. So, don't repeat my mistake. So basically, I just clean it up a little bit just to kind of get the main burr off of there, because again, they were put together, just the manufacturing process. It only takes like a second. So spend the time and clean it up. This part here, I say especially clean that one up, because it is going to go inside this part. So the backing part, you don't necessarily have to clean up as much or as closely, but be very careful how much pressure you're putting on it, because if you put too much pressure on it, you may break this. This is, while they are really well built, it is still a very, very pliable part. These side edges are very, very skinny. But here's what I'm going to do. So in order to get how I'm going to line it up done, what I do is I take a piece of tape and I stick it on like so, and then I'm going to put it in the back of the window. Now, I want to remind you that when you look on this pack here, there is a piece that is wider than the back, so you want to make it uniform to both sides. I'm going to put the larger piece up to the front because that's what I'm going to do. Just 1 second here. And then what I do is I stick it to the back like this, and I just kind of line it up a little bit, get it to exactly where I feel that my spacing is where I want it, and then just make contact with the tape. So I like using painter's tape for stuff like that. It will go on. It is easy to pull back off. It won't take your paint off. And then if you have to make any adjustments before you slam it down completely, you can still make any small adjustments that you need to. So you can kind of see there I got my painter's tape on the back, just holding it in a general area. Now, this is where my Sharpie comes in. So what I'm doing with this one here, if you look, and I can keep the glare from happening because I need to get close to it, I'm just tracing out the inside diameter of where I'm going to apply my cuts. Now, that being said, I may need to do a little bit of trimming later, or kind of the way I always run, I usually make a couple mistakes, which in the end, what did they say? Measure twice, cut once? I'll measure like 13 times, but then I'll still have to trim and cut and do some goofy stuff later. But that's fine, because what some people do, and this is actually what I will do in the future, is if I make a mistake, that's fine. There's a little bit of overhang on this unit that will help you hide any of your mistakes. And just 1 second here, concentrate, make a straight line. Okay, perfect. And if you look at the real RotoPax that you can get for these Jeeps, like for the go in the window, obviously you can't mount this into glass, so it will actually take up that whole backspace. So if I go too far with the marker, or I go too far with the cut, I can fix it and then just paint it black later, because the top's black. So then I can pop this off, and you see here I've kind of got on the window the general layout of exactly where this is going to go. Get rid of the tape. And then I'm going to use a super sharp body reamer. Don't poke yourself in the finger, guys. This will make you bleed too. So what I'm going to do, hold it up like this, and then of course, kind of put it towards the corner. Pop it through. Come on. There we go. And then just start to spin it until you get to the edge of the corner. So you kind of want to center it out so that while you're putting this in there, the reamer will touch both sides. Get as close into the corner as you can. And because this black marker was supposed to be the inside diameter, just keep hogging that reamer in until the black line starts to disappear, because then that's the edge. That's kind of where the knife is going to go. So you see here, I did it until it was gone. Of course, in here, keep your finger out of the way. I want to stress that, guys. Keep your finger out of the way. I don't want to be responsible for anybody bleeding all over their workbench, especially if you have a wife. My wife has, it's been a few times, poor woman, having to deal with me and knives. Just give me a second here. So you can see what I'm going to do with the reamer here. Now, after I get all 4 of these holes reamed out, the next step is just to kind of get the rest of it. Now, anybody who's done carpentry and stuff like that in the past, you kind of know how it goes, right? Drill, if it's an internal cut, drill 4 holes in the corner, and then use like a jigsaw or something to cut between the holes. Same kind of idea, but with Lexan, there's this wonderful process called the score and tear. Anybody who's painted a lot of bodies knows what it is, because you've probably mastered it by now. But Lexan is a very wonderful, strong material that once there is a flaw or a cut in it, it is very, very easy to pull apart and tear, hence the score and tear. So that is where, let me grab it here, I just want to get this out of the way. If you've ever dropped one of these on the floor, you know to move your feet as soon as possible. So again, I'm going to switch my blade out for the sharpest blade I have, which is a brand new blade. Second here. And this is where the score comes in. So what I'm going to do is very carefully, very lightly at first. Again, patience is a virtue. I had this conversation with Steve. Patience is a patience is a virtue that I do not have. So I'm going to try to exercise it here for video's sake. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the dots along the black line, and I'm going to leave myself a bit of a score in the Lexan. I'm going to go over it twice just to get it a little bit deep. And then what you will find is when it comes time to tear the Lexan, it is going to come apart like butter. 1 second here. There's 2. I want to be very cautious with this because if your Lexan blade angles it all of a sudden you're like, whoop, you go off to the side. And then if you go to do a tear, you're not careful, it will tear along whatever line you leave, and you will ruin your project. So again, I'm just going to go over it quick a second time. In theory, I'm going to pretend like I'm going over the exact same line, which if you can get a close-up of this, you will see that I have not done. I'm not a pro at this, but I'm doing the best I can. Especially when I'm trying to work around a video camera. 3 and 4. So now I've scored my lines. I've got my holes. First thing I'm going to do is kind of use my sharp hobby knife to cut myself a little starter. Sometimes you just need to start. And then from there, you shouldn't have to use too much force, but you don't have to be too ginger with it. It should go along the score line. Now I say should because you don't know, if you've not been at practice at this, you don't know if you've scored it deep enough or if you were able to get it on the line the second time. So now look, it's starting to work. So I'm just pushing it with my thumb and it's going across the score line. Not very easily. It's not a perfect science. I want to warn you that if you do not be careful, you may end up absolutely annihilating the Lexan. This works as well. A sharp enough knife, just hammer away on it. So I'm going to start another one. And again, guys, please be very careful because I did tell you earlier to use the sharpest knife you could get, which means you are cutting around your fingers. There we go. There's a nice tear. You're cutting around your fingers with the sharpest knife, if you follow my instructions, the sharpest knife you have. And nothing like a razor blade. So just 1 second here. Start another score. Or start another tear, I should say. That one's not punching out very easy either. Apparently, this blade wasn't as sharp as I wanted it to be. So there are many different ways that you can do this. Of course, I told you to do the score and tear, and here I'm not even doing it. So you will most likely, in some cases, end up with a lot of trimming to do later. You'll never really know until you go to mount the unit back in again. Come on, Lexan, work with me, buddy. There we go. And then I'm almost got it done, so. Ta-da! I'm going to pretend like that went exactly as planned. You guys know different, though. So I did leave a little bit of extra flashing and stuff like that here. That needs to all be trimmed up. So you know what, guys? Give me 1 second. I'm going to hammer away on this to get it. Oh, that's actually working really well. Again, nice sharp blade. Be careful of your skin. Now, one thing that you're going to want to do at all stages is test fit, right? You always want to test fit. So I'm just, 1 second, I'm just trimming away a couple of things that I know are definitely in the way, and then I'm going to test fit. So what you do, of course, you want to test fit the unit in the exact same way that you originally planned it, right? So the big fat end towards the front, and already I can see it's not going to fit. So I have some trimming to do, and I can see it's all on the back, which is fine because I actually see I'm not even touching the line on the back. So give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to trim this up a little bit. So I got it all trimmed up. Again, it's not perfect. If you want to take a sanding block or something like that to it, go nuts. But actually, I like it to be a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit smaller so that when I pop this sucker in there, that actually keeps it in place pretty well all on its own. So it's just friction fit in there, just enough. Get rid of all the extra stuff that it's in there. So, but that's not exactly how it goes in. So what you're going to do now is grab the backing of it, put that around there. This is where the CA glue comes in. So in actuality, what's going to hold this thing into the kit is the backing itself. And this material really does like CA glue. It just wants to suck it up. It wants to be friends. And it will glue itself together. There is a secret with CA glue. This is what I learned a long time ago while Steve was gluing my tires. I don't want to actually say while I was gluing my tires because I have to give credit where credit's due. So when Steve was gluing my tires, he was very clear to say that too much CA glue will actually not work. It's actually less is more when it comes to CA glue. It doesn't really stick very well to itself. So this isn't one of those areas where you just hog this stuff on and hope for the best. It's not an epoxy. This stuff here actually, the less you use, the better it will adhere. Now, I'm not saying do like 3 drops. I'm just saying don't dump it on like, I don't know, like something that you want to waterproof. You just need a little line around the outside, which again is why I like to use this little straw, because the little straw kind of limits how much is going to come out. And it's not going to make a monstrous mess. Just kind of get it in the crack as well so you can direct it a little bit better. Now again, because there's a lot of overlap on both sides, you're not going to see this stuff come through, so it's kind of hidden that way. So that's kind of how it goes. Now you do want to let this stuff sit for a bit. A good CA glue will dry in seconds. Keep that in mind when you're using it, because dry in seconds also means fingers. So a good CA glue will dry in seconds, but you're going to want to give it a little bit of time before you really start to do anything important with it. So that's kind of how that works. So I'm just going to kind of set this one aside and just kind of set it over here. Let's talk a little bit about this. So this, of course, is the RotoPax itself. And like I said, a lot of this stuff that's on here, you're not going to be using. And it is white, which means you can paint it whatever color you would like. I like red, so I'm probably going to paint them both red. Although you paint them kind of to what their uses are. When you're on the trails, red would be fuel, yellow would be diesel. You would have blue for your water. Oh, there goes a piece. And the idea behind that is that you want to make sure you color code them so that someone doesn't exactly grab a yellow one and drink it. That would be bad. I've drank diesel in my lifetime, and it's something I wish to never do again. Of course, you are going to be trimming this bad boy up a little bit, just kind of like this, and just get rid of the gating, because again, you're going to want to finish this as much as possible before you paint it. Just kind of, because just like a wall, if the finish work is not done correctly, when you paint it, you will see absolutely everything. Now there is a little bit of a powder on this from the manufacturing process, so before you glue, make sure you clean that up as much as you can. Now, of course, what I did is I just set this little guy inside here like that, because remember, the one piece was the cap, and a little bit of CA glue, just to kind of keep it in place. Just like that. I want to glue it first before I paint it, because that way I paint over the glue. Glue's not going to leave much of a residue, but if you give me the option, I'll paint over it. So that's how that's done. So now all of a sudden I have a gas cap with the lid on it. Those other pieces I cut off, like I said, was to for other stuff, right, for other projects. So there's that. Give me a second, guys. I want to give that some time to dry before I start monkeying around with it. Right back. All right, guys, so I've got that all done. Listen, let me stress to you how important it is to have a Steve around when you're building. Basically, remember how I told you that these things were for probably a different project? No, they're not. They're actually for this, because Steve was kind of watching me on the background when I was trying to screw stuff together and basically said, hey, numbnuts, you're about to screw that up. So this is actually how it works. So what you're going to do is these little guys are what holding these into the side of the unit itself. They stick in just like that, and they screw from the back side. So that is, again, the idea of the RotoPax, because they turn, right? So that's kind of neat. So again, let me just grab this little gas. Oh, that's the other one. Let me grab this little gas cap here. What we're doing is we're throwing this bad boy on here. Now again, you can paint these whatever color you want. I haven't painted them yet. That's for a different day. Just make sure, again, the CA glue has got this stuff all glued in exactly how you like it. I'm going to add a little bit more to this one here because it's moving. And I don't want them moving because I will roll this truck and I don't want to lose it. So then what you're going to do is when you grab these, where did I just put it? Come on, did I lose it already? Oh, they're in there. Jeez. Anyway, when you grab the smaller versions of these, you're going to have to find yourself the tiniest little drill bit just to go in there and pre-tap these things, or pre-thread, pre-hole, whatever you want to do. Hog it out. But basically, this stuff is it's a powder. So you can literally by hand just do that and put the screw or put the drill hole in there. Then you got to get yourself a couple of these tiny, tiny little screws. And you will need an 050 driver to do it. So basically, I've got that all set up now. I'm going to show you exactly how that's done. So I do have this guy set in there. It does go like that, sticks in there. And then, of course, from the back, you're going to put that tiny little screw in there. So let's see here. Get in there. And then it goes in. Remember, guys, I told you this is so brittle. This stuff is so, it's just really, really, really light powder. So do not crank this sucker down. Just get it until it's a little bit tight and then stop. And that's it. It's in there. It's not moving around. It's stuck in there. And again, later on you can paint it whatever color you want to have it. Again, I think I'm going to do both mine red. It is the Red Knight. Remember, if you watched that video blog a little while ago, I told you that this thing actually has a name now. So this is the Red Knight. So get some time to get used to that truck and get them in there. I'll get those things painted probably red and go from there. So easy enough to do. It is a very simple install. As long as you are comfortable with a hobby knife, you should be doing pretty good with it. Maybe a body reamer, a couple extra tools than what you're used to on any of my my install or my builds, but you know what, it'll all work out for you. One thing I also highly suggest is, well, number one, make sure that you pre-tap everything, make sure that you pre-set up your tools, and make sure you take your time, please. Take your time with the holes, doing the Lexan windows. And one more thing that I kind of, like I said, you can, let me just hold on, this last screw in here. Like I said, the real RotoPax do not screw into windows. You would actually remove the window. So what you can do with this one here is, of course, my roof is black. You can see I still got a little bit of window behind it. What I will eventually do is take my black paint and just completely black it out, so it looks like it's got the correct black background. Otherwise, see, you're not going to, again, it doesn't screw into a window. So that's how that is done. So those are the RotoPax that you can get from Knight Customs, all installed. At a later video, you will see the paint. I'm not going to pull the paint out and get it done right now. I still have to decide what I want to do and then go from there. So you can hit these up on the Knight Customs store. Actually, hold on. Let me do this. There you go. So it kind of gives you another idea of how it looks like once it's on the rig. But I'll give you guys some more view of that later. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much for checking it out. Thanks again for Steve for hanging around and telling me I was doing it wrong so I could show you guys the correct way to do it. Please head over to Knight Customs Facebook, head over to Knight Customs on their website, and let them know that you saw it on Scale Freak, so that he knows that people are watching. Again, click on the like button down below. Click on the subscribe button above. Please comment below. Have you picked yours up yet, or are you going to be getting a set of those things? And of course, please share this throughout your community. I don't put it very many places, so if you could send that out to all your friends and your family, and then your friends' family and stuff like that, I'd be really, really appreciative. So thanks again, guys, for checking it out, and have a great night.